Welcome back to another episode of the Check It From Behind podcast, ladies and gents. It's just myself here again. Today, we have a really big episode from a big blow in Winnipeg with Connor Hellebuyck being out 4 to 6 weeks after a knee procedure. At least the team locked up their captain, Adam Lowry, to a 5x5 contract extension. However, we go elsewhere to the Pacific Division. The Ducks defenseman Pavel Mintyukov has asked for a trade after back-to-back scratches, while Jets prospect Brad Lambert has permission to seek out a new team. And in Minnesota, the Wild are absolutely surging, being 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. Wallstead has posted back-to-back shutouts, and their stars are firing on all cylinders. We're also checking on the East and wrap up with Stock Watch. Who's rising, who's falling from the week of November 17th to November 23rd. I have a lot to discuss here in this episode. We'll start off with the injury news here because Connor Hellebuyck is missing 4 to 6 weeks due to a minor knee procedure he had done over the week. This is probably one of the biggest blows to any team in the entire league. The most valuable player to the Winnipeg Jets. And I know the Winnipeg Jets got off to only a 12-8 start with or without him. But right now, they're outside of the playoff line, and having a back-to-back Vezina winning player out for not an extended period of time, but, about a quarter of the season-ish or so. He won't be back until probably game 45, if I'd had to guess, probably around New Year's. If he can come back by New Year's, I think that's a win. But right now, they're at 24 points, 12-8 in 20 games played. And granted, they have a 600 points percentage, and they've played 2 less games than Utah, who's in front of them. Same with LA. Edmonton has played 4 more games than Winnipeg. So if you go by points percentage, they are in a playoff spot. They're not in the top of the Pacific Division via points percentage. But what the Winnipeg Jets cannot do when Hellebuyck misses this much time is start skidding. They need Mark Scheifele, who has been really good. Same with Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey to really kind of carry the team in a way. And outside of those players, plus Gabriel Velarde and Nino Niederreiter, everybody else has 9 or less points. Only 5 players have 10 or more points. 5 players that I just named off. Mark Scheifele is going to be on Team Canada. Kyle Connor is going to be on Team USA for the Olympics. Both players are playing great. Josh Morrissey, I would expect to be in the Olympics as well. But their depth hasn't really shown up. And sometimes, yes, I do believe they do miss Nikolai Ehlers, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't meant to be for him to come back to Winnipeg. And Connor Hellebuyck, he was having a good season with 913 save percentage and a 251 goals against average. However, though, Eric Comrie, who is their backup at the moment, has a 284 goals against average and an 899 save percentage. Now, obviously, he is the team starter. And if I'm Winnipeg, unless you start falling out of things completely, I wouldn't go ahead and trade for a goaltender or give up so many assets. Now, granted, I do believe the Winnipeg Jets are in one of their windows to go out and make a deep playoff run, especially when you have Connor Hellebuyck, Mark Scheifele, Morrissey, Connor, the rest of the gang. Yes, at the end of the day, they do have Stanley Cup aspirations, especially coming off a President's Trophy winning season and making it to the second round last season. They haven't been to the Western Conference Finals in a few years now, which I think that if they got to the Western Conference Finals, that would be a big win in my book. Although you're going to have to go through Colorado, Minnesota, Vegas. So yeah, big blow for Winnipeg. If Winnipeg can just keep their heads above the water, don't panic too much. They can't roll over and just start losing game after game after game. Eric Comrie or whatever goaltender they have in the crease, which right now it is Eric Comrie, they're going to have to at least do enough to win hockey games. Who cares about if you allow 3 goals a game, for crying out loud? If you win a hockey game, that's all that matters at this point. You don't need to play like a Connor Hellebuyck. You don't need to play like a very good goaltender. Just play like a serviceable goaltender who can come in and hold down the crease until your Vezina winning trophy goaltender is back. Most impactful Jets player on the ice. Every time he steps on the ice. And he's out. And the Winnipeg Jets also signed Adam Lowry to a 5x5 contract extension, which I'm okay with. We got to get used to these players who are 35-point players getting the $4 to $5 million deal instead of getting $2.5, $3 million with the cap going up. And Do I think that the price is a little bit inflated because he is their captain? He's 32 years old and he's beneficial to the team more than just on the ice? Absolutely. A player like Adam Lowry, who is just your normal 25 to 35 point career player and doesn't put up a ton of offensive production, but he is really good shorthanded and defensive situations. Yes, he'll get probably about $3.5 million to $4 million. But the Winnipeg Jets can't afford to also lose Adam Lowry, and some people calling this an overpay. It's more than just his on-ice production. Granted, he is one of the better shorthanded players in the league. He's the best shorthanded player on the Winnipeg Jets outside of Connor Hellebuyck. I do think that goaltending is probably the biggest penalty killer. They make big saves on the penalty kill, and they keep the puck out of the net. So that's just my opinion on that. He's great for them. He's great for them. Arneal trusts Lowry in every single defensive situation. And now at this point, the Jets have all of their leaders locked up. Connor Hellebuyck, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey, and now you add Lowry to the mix. Lowry is a very important player and a very important piece to this Winnipeg Jets team. People just don't understand. There's more in this game. And I'll go on this little tangent real quick. There's more to this game than just scoring points and scoring goals and getting assists and making big saves and all of that fun stuff that you always see on NHL's Instagram or all over social media on X and TikTok. Players like Adam Lowry, they do all the little things right. They win the battles. They're tough. They're gritty. They're physical. They have the leadership on the ice, off the ice. They get their guys all fired up. There's a reason why he is the Winnipeg Jets captain, and he has been. There is a reason why they signed him to a 5x5 extension. They value him just as much as they value Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey and Hellebuyck and these other guys on their team, Mark Scheifele. There's a reason. Sometimes players don't have to be necessarily very, very good point producers to be a team's leader, a team captain. Sure. There's a reason why Patrick Kane was never a captain in Chicago. He was one of the most lethal playmakers and goal scorers in the league in the middle of his prime, but he only had an A. He did not have a C. You want to know why? Because he was not the Blackhawks' best leader. There's a reason why a lot of players that are very, very good at producing points don't have the C. Granted, I think some situations are a little bit different because... Like, take Colorado, for example. Gabriel Landeskog is one of the best captains in the entire league. Whether he was injured for those 2 years that he was off the ice or on the ice in the locker room, whatever. Nathan MacKinnon is still a very good leader, and he was their honorary captain until Landeskog came back. He never put the C on, but he had the A, and he was looked at as the team's captain. And he's still looked at as one of the team's captain. He has an alternate captain for a reason. He does have an A. That's a situation where I think Nathan MacKinnon would be a captain on a lot of teams. A lot of teams. And it's different situations like that. Like, you take Tampa Bay, for example, again, too. When Stamkos was on the Lightning, you could have put Hedman as a captain. You could have. He's captain material on a lot of teams. So, it goes hand in hand both ways. Sometimes, yeah, there is a player that is a no doubt a captain. Even with Winnipeg, for example. I do believe Mark Scheifele could be a captain on some teams. But Adam Lowry is the captain on the Winnipeg Jets, so Mark Scheifele has the A. And this doesn't necessarily go for every single player who has an A. This doesn't necessarily go for every single captain who has a C. This is only certain situations. So yes, a captain can be more beneficial to a team than just point producing. There are other roles on a team. Players have to know their roles. Adam Lowry plays it great. He's really great shorthanded. He's really great defensively. So, yes, I do like this 5x5 contract extension. He's only played 8 games this season, too. He only has 3 points in those 8 games. But you know what? He wins the defensive zone draws. He wins the draws in general. He's great for them, and I love this for them. So we'll see if the Winnipeg Jets can just hold their head above water during this Hellebuyck injury and see where they can go from here. If they start skidding a little bit, do you make a panic move? I don't know. You really have to make that call if you're the Winnipeg Jets. If the goaltending is struggling. Now, if the goaltending is not struggling and you go on a skid, you have nothing to worry about. I think at the end of the day, the only move the Winnipeg Jets should think about making is making a move for a better goaltender to be in the crease. But I think Eric Comrie, there's a reason why they brought him back in Winnipeg for a second stint last offseason from Buffalo. They trust him. They trust him in the crease. Unless he turns into an absolute, I don't know, Swiss cheese. Unless he turns into Swiss cheese, I think he is going to be the team starter until Hellebuyck comes back. No doubt in my mind that he will. We have a couple of younger players. Well, one asked for a trade. Another one was given permission to seek a trading partner. Pavel Mintyukov asked for a trade from the Anaheim Ducks. Mintyukov, that was, by the way, after back-to-back scratches. Because he wasn't happy with his role. He wasn't happy with his playing time. He didn't really feel like he had room to grow in Anaheim. So he went to Pavel Mintyukov and asked for a trade. He's behind Drew Helleson, Jackson Lacombe, and Olen Zellweger. 3 very young defensemen. Plus, you have Ian Moore, who's 23 years old. And I understand when Mintyukov is coming from because he's 22 years old. Sorry, he's 21 years old. Zellweger's 22. Lacombe's 24. Helleson's 24. Plus, you have Radko Gudas and Jacob Trouba. And if Mintyukov doesn't feel like he has a chance to grow to really become a very good defenseman in the league because he's playing third pair minutes in Anaheim, then I totally understand it. But he played 63 games in 23-24. He played 68 games last season. He's played 19 games this season so far. But, like I said, third pair minutes. He's only playing 15 minutes and 39 seconds average time on ice per game in 19 games played. 2 years ago, it was 1851 in his rookie season. So it looked like he was trending up in a direction of possibly being this team's one of their top defensemen. In the last season, Jackson Lacombe kind of comes onto the scene. His ice time decreases just by about 40-ish seconds or so. 17:36. And then this season, it's down almost exactly 2 minutes. 1 minute and 57 seconds to 15:39. He's a +1, though. Last season, he was a -1. He had 19 points in 68 games last season. He has 3 points, which are all assists, in 19 games played this season. He's not given the opportunity. Now, this kind of came to a surprise to me because I felt like he was part of the Ducks' future blue line. He's one of the more talented players on the Ducks blue line. Now, their blue line is very, very young. They've gone through growing pains, but I really thought once Gudas and or Trouba are getting up there in age because they're both on the wrong side of 30, that Mintyukov would eventually come in and take over a top 4 spot. But he obviously hasn't yet with Joel Quenneville, who kind of seems to be burying him in the lineup. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes when you're not playing so good, he comes in. Sorry. Ooh, I didn't mean to zoom in like that. Oops. Sorry. How did I do that? I don't know. Whatever. Either way, though, I understand he wants a better opportunity to play. Maybe send him off to a team like Philadelphia. Maybe send him off to a team like St. Louis. I think St. Louis could 1,000% use a guy like Mintyukov. St. Louis on the blue line, they're so old. They just ended up signing Colton Parayko to an extension, to a $6.5 million extension. They ended up doing that same thing to Cam Fowler. Just this past offseason for Cam Fowler, to be exact, that's $6.1 million. They have 3 defensemen who are 24 or younger. Philip Broberg, Tyler Tucker, Matt Duquesne. But then they have Cam Fowler, who's 33. Justin Falk, 33. Colton Parayko, 33. 2 of those guys have an A. 2 of them they signed recently to an extension. So they're not going to obviously get rid of them or scratch them, whatever. Cam Fowler, 2 of them have an A. 2 of them got extensions. The 2 A's, Parayko and Falk. Falk didn't just recently get an extension. And then Cam Fowler recently got the extension but does not have an A in a sweater. You know, I've always wondered about this. The Anaheim Ducks and St. Louis Blues being partners. This is great. Because what if in a deal like this, you're looking at Justin Falk, who's making $6.5 million. And I understand the Blues have $5.58 million in cap space. So it's not like they're cap strapped when they trade for Mintyukov. It's not like they have $400,000 in cap space. Maybe you 50% retain Falk and send him over to Anaheim. But then obviously you would also have to add more assets to Anaheim in this case, right? Now, does this make the Anaheim Ducks worse? I think so. The Anaheim Ducks are not required to trade Mintyukov. Just because the player requests a trade doesn't mean a GM has to be on the phone 24/7 talking about, man, we have to trade this player. Like, trying so anxiously to trade him because he wants to be out. Like, I understand wanting to make your players happy in the organization. Making them happy is, if they request a trade, I know, like, you want to have a backbone. The only way to make a player happy if they don't get traded is to play them more. And obviously, Joel Quenneville is not doing that, which is fine. You put your players, you put your best players on the ice. You put players in a position to succeed. If a 21-year-old player who seems to kind of be taking not a step back in development, but kind of has plateaued in his development just a little bit, by all means, that's fine. Play him 16 minutes a night. I have to sign into Evolving Hockey. I want to look at Mintyukov's charts because I wonder if his analytics show if he's been good, if he's been meh. But I think St. Louis would be a very good trading partner. Now again, Verbeek does not have to trade him at all. And you go over to Mintyukov's chart. Oh my God. This is fucking brutal. There's a reason why he's playing 15.5 minutes a night. There's a reason why. He has not been good at all. Even strength offense. Oof. Goals above replacement. Past -6. His expected goals above replacement is just below 0. It's at like -1. Something like that. Even strength defense, it's goals above replacement just before -6. At like probably -5, 5.5. Expected goals above replacement about -3. Power play offense, he doesn't get any power play time. It's 24 total minutes power play time on ice this season. Short-handed defense, it's good. It's right around 3. Penalties, he's drawing and he's taking some, all by 3 or so. 27th overall percentile, 17th overall defense, 17 offense, 31st defense. That's not going to cut it. There's a reason why. So, again, I'm intrigued to see where this ends up, but the package should be a decent size. Anaheim should not be trading him just to trade him. They should not throw a fucking Jordan Spence trade and strike. Here's a 3rd and 6th overall pick for him. Don't do that. Don't do that. Get back something that makes your team better, whether it's on the blue line, whether it's the Forge, whether it's draft capital, whether it's the prospects. Something like that. Whether it's a depth player, Anaheim Ducks could always get better depth, but they're in a great position. They could get back a decent package for Mintyukov to the right team. I think St. Louis and Philadelphia would be 2 of those teams that really go out and give them a decent package. Now, Armstrong and Briere are not dumb GMs either. They're not going to sit here and send the entire world for Mintyukov because they need him. They're not going to do that. But I think that those are 2 of the teams that will be willing to give up a decent package for Mintyukov. And you're going over back to the Winnipeg Jets. I should have just stayed with the Winnipeg Jets before going over to Mintyukov. But either way, though, Lambert has now been given permission to seek a trading partner. He had a chance to be a part of the team's core, but he hasn't really been given the opportunity to go out and be a part of the team's core. I'm trying to find him here. The Winnipeg Jets have had a history, at least as of late, of these prospects kind of wanting out. We saw it with Rucker McGroarty, who I still think is very entitled. He was very entitled on his way out on Winnipeg. I was talking about it here a year ago with my co-host, and how Rucker McGroarty said he wanted top 6 minutes, and he wanted power play time and whatever. And we had sources for that stuff, viable sources. People coming into comments. Well, one person, I will never forget this, told us to shut the fuck up. And that we're spreading false information. And that he knew Rucker McGroarty personally. He didn't have a profile picture, by the way. came up and was like, it was actually on one of our shorts, TikToks, whatever, said that we didn't know puck, that this is completely false. Why are we spreading false information? He knew Rucker McGroarty personally. I asked him, okay, and I replied to the comment. I never got a reply back to the comment, which means he's probably fucking bullshitting. Either way, though, Brad Lambert, in 61 games with Manitoba in the AHL last season, he had 35 points. Not bad. The year before, in 64 games, he had 55 points. So it dipped down in points per game from 0.86 to 0.57. Out of Winnipeg, he has 10 total games played. He has 3 points in those 10 games, 3 assists. He has 4 games played this season in Winnipeg for 1 point. In Manitoba, he has 4 games played, 0 points. Crazy, man. Brad Lambert is talented. He's a very talented playmaker. And this is the same situation with McGroarty and Mintyukov. I understand where Lambert's coming from, too. He's not acting entitled with this, right? He's not sitting here saying he wants minutes in the NHL. Well, he's not saying that he wants top 6 minutes or power play minutes. At least he understands that the Winnipeg Jets have a very good roster in front of him. But I feel like this kid deserves a decent shot. And this does happen sometimes too, with some prospects drafted to a team that kind of is loaded up front or on the back end, where they don't have a viable role on the roster. Brad Lambert is a third line player, second line player, potentially even first line player in his prime. But he just doesn't have the opportunity to go out. If he's on the Winnipeg Jets, he's playing fourth line minutes, and that's not going to do him any good. It's not going to develop him into the player to help reach his ceiling. It's the same thing at Buffalo with Isaac Rosen and Noah Austin. Really up until this last stretch of games where half the roster is hurt, they haven't really been giving him an opportunity. They were always on the fourth line playing 9-10 minutes a night and then sent down to the AHL a couple games later because it doesn't help them to just play 10 minutes a night in the NHL when they're very talented. Same thing goes for Brad Lambert. He has the potential to be part of a team's core, just not part of Winnipeg's core. So he'll be valuable to a team in desperate need of young players, young prospects like the Penguins, like the Predators, maybe even the Kings, maybe even the Capitals, just to name a few teams. The Penguins, 1,000%, they need to get younger, and I know Dubas has done a good job of trying to get younger. He brought in some younger pieces over the last couple seasons. The Predators, they have 4 young pieces, but half the roster is fucking part of the Ice Age. They're actually part of the Roman Empire. Like 35 years old, 34 years old, signing up to huge contracts. Like, what are we doing? So, same thing with the Kings. The Kings, they're not in as desperate need. Unlike the Capitals, too. I think the Capitals also need to get younger. Although, again, they have some younger pieces on their team as well. But Brad Lambert can be valuable to almost any team. So, again, this is intriguing to see where Brad Lambert ends up going from Winnipeg to wherever. Maybe it's going to be a 1-for-1 swap that Winnipeg did with Jaeger, and Rucker McGroarty. Or maybe it's going to be, we're going to get back some NHL players. But if I'm Winnipeg, I want another prospect back. More of a top-end prospect. Do you go to Buffalo and ask for somebody like that? Do you go to, I don't think Buffalo would really, benefit from Brad Lambert right now. Do you go to Montreal, maybe? Do you go to, I don't know. Do you go to the Islanders, for example, who I think could use Brad Lambert, who I think he would succeed on the Islanders with Patrick Waugh and the rest of the young group there with their prospects, with Eklund, with Aitchison, with Schaefer, Barzal, Bo Horvat, etc. Maybe. I don't know, but we'll see where this ends up. This episode is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Spinoramas, Michigan goals, a sprawling save across the crease. Live and breathe all of the highlight moments with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. I use DraftKings to bet on any NHL game and player props, and you should too. From anytime goal scorer to picking an underdog and trying to win big, every puck drop you have a chance to win big with DraftKings. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out in $200 in bonus bets instantly. Light the lamp all season long with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bets win. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problems. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. Must be the age of 21 years or older. Age and eligibility vary by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after assurance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos for details. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only. Auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, quick timeout before we get back to the action. This episode is brought to you by W Energy. Listen, hockey's fast, and whether you're breaking down plays, yelling shoot from the couch, or just getting in a workout, you've got to stay sharp. That's where W comes in. Clean energy with zero sugar, no crash, no artificial flavors or dyes. Just 150 milligrams of caffeine per serving, about 2 cups of coffee's worth to keep you locked in and ready to go. Personally, I use W before the gym, on the ice, and even when prepping content for the pod. If you need that extra spark, whether you're grinding through work, lifting, or lacing up the skates, W's got you covered. Head over to w.gg and use code CFB Pod for 10% off your order. That's w.gg, code CFB Pod for 10% off your order. Fuel up, stay locked in, and let's get back to the episode. How about the... What the fuck? How about the Minnesota Wild? I just had to close out my notes tab because I fucked it up with my stupid ass D-pad or mouse pad, whatever. How about the Minnesota Wild? They have now won 8 of their last 10 games. And they are 8. So yeah, they're 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. They now sit third in the Central Division, with the Winnipeg Jets kind of slumping a little bit, especially with an injury to Connor Hellebuyck. There are 26 points in 22 games, 11-7-4. The Minnesota Wild they got off to a slow start. I remember talking about how this team could be in some trouble. They weren't getting the good goaltending. They were getting minimal production from most of their guys. And then in comes Jesper Wallstedt. I really hope it's Jesper, not Jesper. If it's Jesper, sorry, but calling him Jesper Wallstedt. He's come in, and he has been nothing short of spectacular for the Wild. A 2.20 goals against average, a .926 save percentage. And in his last 4 games that he's played, he has played 4 games in November so far against the Islanders. 27 saves against, 2 goals against. And then on November 9th, November 15th against Calgary and Anaheim, back-to-back shutties. 36 saves against Calgary, 28 saves against Anaheim, 0 goals against, back-to-back shutties. And then against Carolina, a team that's one of the best in the Eastern Conference, if not the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. He ends up having 3 goals against on 45 shots against and ends up winning that game on November 19th, 4 days ago as of this recording. A .933 save percentage. He has not recorded a save percentage under .926 in his last 4 games. And so far this season, in 7 games played, he has a 2.20 goals against average and a .926 save percentage. I probably already said that. So there you guys go. Repeated. But he has yet to have a regulation loss. He is 1, 2, 3, 4. He is 5-0-2. 5-0-2. Is he taking the crease away from Philip Gustafsson, who I will admit, Gustafsson got off to a rough start, and he has picked it up. He has a shutout against Pittsburgh on the 21st, a .920 save percentage against Vegas on the 16th last Sunday. He had a .941 against Nashville on November 4th. But if you look at his numbers, though, I know he got off to the shutty on the first game of the season against St. Louis. But after that, though, he was struggling, man. You see an 800 save percentage, 878, 89, 875, 810. He had some 950s, some 910s in the mix with there. But really, since Halloween, he has kind of picked it up a little bit. He has. Now, granted, you have a couple of losses in there, regulation losses to Pittsburgh and Carolina, but that happens. Two of the best teams in the Metro right now. You have, since Halloween, he has a 909 save percentage, a 929, a 941, a 852, 889, 920, and 1000 save percentage. He's been better. The Wild need Gustafsson to be better, and he has been better. He has picked it up. And the goaltending is not the only reason on the why this team has been so good. It's also been their stars are stepping up in a big way. Kirill Kaprizov has 26 points in 22 games this season. He is on a tear in the last 10 games. Same with Matt Boldy, 25 in 22 games. He has been on an absolute tear. Marcus Johansson, who, by the way, has 18 points in 22 games. That's insane. Eric Sinek, one of the best underrated two-way centers in the league, has 15 in 22. Marco Rossi, who has dealt with a little bit of injuries. In 17 games, he has 13 points so far. I'm intrigued to see Kaprizov's points in the last 10 games or in the stretch of games. So, hold on. When are the last 10 games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, it's the entire month of November. He has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He has 10 points in 10 games. That's not bad. I mean, for Kaprizov standards, it's not bad. A lot of players, you'll take 10 points in 10 games for sure. But the guy who has really driven this run that the Wild are on, Matt Boldy. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He has 13 points in the last 10 games. He is on a 6-game point streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-game point streak, correct. And in those 6 games, he has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points in the last 6 games on a 6-game point streak. He has been phenomenal. And again, going to Marcus Johansson, who would have fucking thought that he would be third on the team in points? And this isn't a shot at Johansson. He has 18 points in the 25 games. It's not like he has 10 points and this team is getting carried by 2 players. It's not like that. And on top of it, the team defense for the Wild has been really good too. And the reason I'm kind of going ham with the Wild right now, and I'm kind of excited that the Wild are being good, because I was on this wagon the last 2 seasons that the Wild were going to be really good, and I had the Wild finishing in the top 3 in the Central. I think I had them finishing 3rd. And here we are. Here we are. The Minnesota fucking Wild are so back. They are so back. Oops. They're beating teams like Vegas, like Anaheim, like Carolina. They ended up beating Vancouver. They beat the Islanders. Their only regulation loss in November so far was against Carolina. It was 4-3 on November 6th in Carolina. They lost to San Jose 2-1 in overtime on the 11th. But outside of that, though, everything's win. They also beat Pittsburgh 5-2 on the 21st. They have a game today coming up at 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see if they move on to 9-1-1 in the last 10 games or if they end up losing. This is a big game for both teams, too. Huge matchup early in the season. We talked about Winnipeg. This game is in Winnipeg. Is Winnipeg going to go out and win this game without Hellebuyck, or will the Wild continue their hot start? I wonder who's starting in that game, Gustafsson or Wallstead. I guess we'll obviously know by the time this comes out tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, the Wild, man. There is everything to say about the Wild. Everything to say. The Wild can take advantage of the Blues and the Mammoth and the Jets, kind of all siding. The Mammoth and Jets, well, the Mammoth especially, who have 2 wins in their last 11 games. Of course, those only 2 wins are against the fucking Buffalo Sabres, because why wouldn't they be? They would be on an 11-game losing streak if the Sabres ended up winning both of those games. They had a chance to win both of those games. They're up, granted, overtime game against Utah, 2-1 they lost. And then the game in Utah, they were up 2-0 early in that game, and they fucking lost 6-3 or whatever it was, or 5-2. I don't know, something like that. The Wild are dependent on their top players more, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Kaprizov, It's great. Boldy's great. Faber, he's kind of plateaued in his development, but he's solid. Z Buium is really good. He should be a Calder candidate come the end of the season. And the Calder races, oh my God, it's going to be so great. You have, I'm going to bring something up while I'm on the Calder race real quick. I'm going to go more in depth with it next weekend, because I'm not releasing an episode on Thanksgiving. Z Buium is towards the top, I believe, in rookie points, whatever. No, he is not. Oops, this is last season. Like, we need this season. Yeah, he's 7th in the rookie point race, whatever. He's tied for 4th, technically. Demidov is 17. Seneca is 16. Schaefer is 15. And then Oliver Kapanen, big surprise. Jimmy Snuggerud, Artyom. I think I probably fucking butchered them 6 times. Levchinov and Z Buium all have 11 points this season. Buium is still minus 10, but you know what? He's only going to get better as the season progresses. He came out of Minnesota, I believe it was. He was great in Minnesota. He looked really good when he came and made his debut in the playoffs for the Wild last season. I'm going to look at his card. I'm not expecting his defensive card to be any good, to be honest with you. But I'm expecting his offensive card. Yeah, his defense is in the 9th percentile. But his offense is in the 54th. He's really good on the power play. Even strength offense is dog shit. He needs some work on his even strength game. But you know what? At the end of the day, he's a rookie. He'll develop, and he's going to develop here. I love what the Wild are doing. I love that they're 3rd in the Central Division. Behind Dallas, behind Colorado. If they keep surging like this and get off to even a better start, let's say, I don't know, they end up are like 16-9-4, 16-9-5 or something like that. They're in a great spot. 40 points, no, 38 points or something like that. 36, 32, that'd be 32 plus 4, 36 points at that point. I don't even know how many games that would be. That was just off the top of my head. I think that would be fucking phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal for Minnesota. We'll see if they can keep this up. I believe they will. The Wild, they're underrated team. I hated that people were killing me and they were doubting me about the Minnesota Wild, saying they were barely a playoff team or they weren't a playoff team because they relied too much on their top-heavy talent. They looked at Colorado, Winnipeg, Dallas, Utah, even St. Louis better than Minnesota. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I know we're only 22 games into the season, but the Wild are getting so disrespected by a lot of people I was seeing on social media, or just in general. The Wild are the 3rd best team in the Pacific Division. Although the one bad take that I did have was Colorado in the first wildcard spot in the Western Conference. They're the best team in the Central Division right now. The best team in the Western Conference, in general. But instead of Colorado, it's Winnipeg down there. Which I could see that. They lost Nikolai Ehlers, etc. Now they lose Hellebuyck out 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll see where they go. But Minnesota, man, if the Minnesota fans are still here, let me know down in the comment section below. How are we feeling about this team? Because I'm feeling very fucking good about Minnesota. From Gustafsson in the goaltending to Faber's, Buium in the defense, and Spurgeon and the forward group. They're able to score. I'm going to check real quick before I move on here and talk about the East a little bit. Goals for per game. The Minnesota Wild they're middle. Oh, they're low key. They're like right towards the middle of the pack right here. 65 goals for. However, goals against though, they're again middle of the pack, but at 64, they have a +1 goal differential. So, I mean, I guess take that. I guess. I don't know, but I expect Minnesota to keep surging here. And going over to the Eastern Conference, which I'm not going to touch on the Eastern Conference too long, because it's tough. Detroit, 27 points at top of the Atlantic Division. But you also have Tampa Bay at 26, Ottawa at 26, Boston's at 26, Montreal's at 25. It's shit show in the Eastern Conference. You have Buffalo, who is sitting last in the Eastern Conference with 20 points in 21 games. They are 5 points out of the wild card spot right now. There's 3 teams now under 500 in the Eastern Conference. They're all 1 point under 500. Sabres 20 and 21 games. Maple Leafs 21 and 22, and the Rangers in 22 and 23. And this is crazy to hear about this. The Toronto Maple Leafs, by the time this comes out, the Toronto Maple Leafs can be sitting. The Toronto Maple Leafs can be sitting in sole last position in the Eastern Conference by the time this recording episode comes out, if the Sabres beat the Carolina Hurricanes at 1 o'clock Eastern today. That's crazy to think about. The Maple Leafs are skidding. They've lost, 6 of their last 7 or something like that. They're dealing with injuries. I think the Sabres, if they can get their shit together on the road, they can be a pretty decent team, and they're getting healthier. I'm kind of excited because they killed Chicago 9-3, but we'll see, though. The Panthers are hanging around. The Rangers are starting to kind of hang around. They've lost 4 straight games, though. The Devils have lost 3 straight games without Jack Hughes. The Atlantic Division teams are winning hockey games. The Metro Division, the Islanders are somehow in 3rd right now in the Metro Division. The Penguins now sit outside of a playoff spot while they're tied. This is going to be a crowded playoff race if every team just keeps hanging around like this. Obviously, you'll get some teams that eventually pull away. I think Carolina will pull away. I think eventually New Jersey will. The Metro is going to be so tough because every season it feels like we see a team in the Metro Division really surprise everybody. Last season was Washington. You have the Islanders this season. You have the Penguins this season. Even the Blue Jackets and Capitals are sit at 25 and 24 points respectively. The Islanders have Matthew Schaefer, who's been phenomenal. They have 26 points in 22 games. And you even have the Flyers right now, 25 points in 20 games. Usually you see these teams get off to a hot start, and then they kind of fizzle out, right? But, Philadelphia's hanging in there. You have the Islanders hanging in there. You have the Red Wings right now hanging in there at 27 points with the -4 goal differential, by the way. That's crazy to me. The East is just a shit show. And do I expect some teams to start losing games and eventually fizzle out? I don't know. That's tough because I'm not doubting the Maple Leafs. I'm not doubting the Rangers. I'm not doubting the Panthers or any of these other teams. Am I doubting the Flyers a little bit? Yes, a little bit. Am I doubting the Bruins a little bit? Yes, a little bit. But they've won 7 of their last 10 games. They're 7-3-0. They have Morgan Geekie, David Pastrnak are firing all cylinders like usual. I know McAvoy is out indefinitely. Hopefully he recovers all great. He's been dealing with some injuries the last couple of seasons, but you know what? At the end of the day, the Bruins are still better than what I expected them to be. Same thing with the Islanders. Are they going to fizzle out? I think eventually they will. I think they're just riding a high right now, but the vibes are high there in New York, on Long Island. Not where MSG is. The vibes are low key dog shit there. Am I doubting Buffalo? Yes, I will doubt Buffalo until they prove me otherwise, until they end up winning. If this they just won their last game. They've won 2 out of their last 3 games. If they now start winning 4 straight games, 5 straight games, I won't doubt them anymore. I won't. I want them to start winning games, though. I just want to see them in the playoffs so bad as a Sabres fan. But the Eastern Conference is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. I'm excited for this race. I'm excited for this race. And we're only 22 games into the season. If there is a couple teams that are in it now that I see falling out, there's 3 teams. I just touched on them. The Islanders, the Bruins, and the Flyers. If there's 3 teams outside that can get back in, I think it's the Penguins, the Canadiens, and the Panthers. I think it's those 3 teams that I could really see getting back in. Panthers are going to get healthier. Eventually, they'll get Kachuk back. The Penguins have Sidney Crosby and Malkin, and Jari's been playing better. But they also have Miroshov, that goaltender who is really fucking good in the AHL, and he has been really good in the NHL. And the Canadiens, I know they're skidding right now. They're 3-4-3 in their last 10. They've only won 3 out of their last 12 games or something like that. By the way, they have 11 wins, only 6 regulation wins. They have 5 overtime wins. 5 overtime wins. Some people maybe saw that as unsustainable. But their speed is just so good. Like, they're so hard to beat in overtime. So I'll keep tabs on this Eastern Conference and the West too. A little bit. I'll cover the West eventually. I didn't want to do the West here with the East. I'll probably do the West next week. Just kind of give it a little update. Yeah, I think that's about it for the East. I really think that's about it. Hurricanes, best team in the East. I think they're a favorite out of the East right now. I think Ottawa's gotten their shit together. They have gotten their shit together. Detroit, we can see if they can keep this up. Tampa Bay has really gotten their shit together ever since their struggling start. They have been on an absolute tear. They were under 500 at one point. Now they're 12-7-2. 1 point back, top of the Atlantic Division. We still have a lot of hockey to go. The standings are going to be interchanging all season long until we get to Game 82, until after Game 82, until we get to the playoffs. So I'm intrigued to see which teams actually make the playoffs. It's going to be a really fun ride. That's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of my content, head over down to the description below. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, as well as subscribe and hit the notification bell for new episodes every single Sunday and Thursday Eastern at 7 p.m. Eastern, on Apple, Spotify, and here on YouTube. And I'll see you guys in my next episode.